The Holcim Foundation Awards is proud to partner with The Urbanist on Monocle Radio. The Holcim Foundation Awards is the world's premier competition for sustainable design, highlighting projects that contribute to the transformation of the building sector. Awarding $1 million in prizes, it honours excellence in sustainable design and construction. By showcasing innovative, soon-to-be-realised projects, the awards drive change and inspire a new generation to adopt responsible design practices. Entry for the next awards competition is open now. Find out more, get involved and submit your free entry. Go to holcimfoundation.org/awards. The Holcim Foundation Awards, proud partner of The Urbanist on Monocle Radio.
Welcome to the third in a special series of Tall Stories, brought to you by the Holcim Foundation Awards, the world's premier competition for sustainable design, highlighting projects that contribute to the transformation of the building sector. I'm your host, Andrew Tuck. In each episode, we welcome one of the jury chairs to explore their views on creating uplifting places, fostering a healthy planet, developing viable economics, and building thriving communities. We ask them how their careers began, the pillars of their practice, and what their hopes are for the future of the industry. This week we speak with the Norwegian architect and co-founder of Snøhetta, Kjetil Thorsen.
I was a student with a secondary modern school in England, where I had an arts teacher who was very inspiring to me. And at the time, maybe like many other architects, you had some ambitions of becoming an artist, maybe at that age, in the range of early punk period. But he said, I think you should rather become an architect. So I did. And since then, more or less, I've been working towards trying to fulfill my absolute need to make things. And when I started the university in Graz in Austria, I found a certain freedom combined with my Norwegian heritage. So all of a sudden, it became a revelation to me what architecture could actually be. In that period, to me, it was very clear that collaboration is the path forward. The singular architect in the old fashion seemed overrated. It seemed complex. And of course, my interest in landscape and landscape architecture also promoted me in the direction of trying, especially at the beginning, look at architecture and landscape as one. And that was the basic idea with the foundation. When we founded Snøhetta, was to bring architecture and landscape architecture closer. But of course, social sustainability was also at the core. And for many, many years, the reason for wanting to do architecture was that it had such a large impact on social settings. I don't think architecture is there for the sake of architecture. I think it's there in the service of people. And there is no contradiction between beauty and social impact. Driving this notion of emotions and relationship and closeness and intimacies related to the physical environment is at the core. And architecture is building societies as much as it is building objects. We still regard social sustainability more or less as the mother of all sustainabilities, because they provide you with the conditions of being conscious about environmental sustainability and everything else that happens. It is the most important thing for us. How is equity looking in the future? How is accessibility in our cities being provided for to the general public? How is that being combined with great designs and beautiful designs and environmentally sustainable designs, not the least, which has a tendency of triggering its own aesthetics? And how does that influence the economic situations in different societies? We're super interested in that because I think it's at the core of the profession. Not to say that it shouldn't be dealt with in an artistic manner, but architecture is architecture and art is art. And for me, it's equally important. With the Library of Alexandria, we were facing the issues of history and historical interpretation, and we were facing a city where more than 50% of the city were illiterate. We were facing a downturn in the Egyptian environment to a large extent, and the city of Alexandria decaying. And we tried to introduce a combined library at the same time as making sure that the public would get into this building to look for the place where they could find a sanctuary, but also find knowledge. And to a large extent, I think we succeeded with that in this first building. But I think the next step forward was the Opera House in Oslo. And that's one step further on this inclined kind of way of thinking about the fifth facade, the roof, where we allowed the people to enter. And then all of a sudden it became a sort of sloped reality in the city, which was accessible to the public without necessarily having to visit the institution itself. And that gave us the possibility of interpreting a Norwegian law called the right of roaming, which means you can't put up fences for the public. We felt we designed a building that was deeply embedded in this Norwegian understanding of accessibility and the right to roam, with some very clear understandings of intimacy between the body and the object. The body needs to be close to its environment. You need to be able to touch it, sit on it, lay down on it. It needs to be tactile. And it needs to be yours at that moment when you're there. So it's also to do with public ownership. That also drives the social aspects of sustainability, because automatically it's also being protected. I think the most crucial element into the future is for people to accept the complexity we're stuck in and embrace that complexity in order to get the best possible solutions. Do cross collaborations between all kinds of professions in order to get the best out of everything that we're trying to design, which means all the way from not only the design and architectural and art professions, but sociology and psychology, moving into authorships, working with scientists in order for us to be able to grasp and understand the big challenges ahead of us. And by that, also redefining environmental sustainability. So we still have a long way to go. And all we can do is to say, stay on it. Get conscious about the environmental aspects where you are, where you live, and try to solve them in the best possible way into the future.
Tall Stories is a Monocle production from the team behind The Urbanist. This episode was brought to you by the Holcim Foundation Awards. For more information, visit holcimfoundation.org. I'm Andrew Tuck. Goodbye, and thank you for listening, City Lovers.